Welcome to the latest tour of my shop. As you can see, it's not huge. It's actually 10 foot by 16 foot. I have a little add-on over there where I've got a couple pieces of equipment hidden and a lot of wood. My wife likes to call this her tomato trellis. We're gonna get a good crop this year. I planted some strawberries because I like those. Well, let's go inside and take the tour. Now, when I set up my shop, my first consideration was what did I want to do in here? And I'm not really a woodworker, I'm a wood turner. So guess what's dead center in the middle is my lathe. And it's also here because Brian has to be able to move around with the camera. Now, this lathe is awesome. It's a robust American beauty. And it is really cool. It has a 25-inch swing. I mean, this thing, you can turn giant stuff on it, which is great. But you can get even crazier. Take the headstock, slide it all the way down the end. They have an outboard attachment. You can turn something, honestly, from about here, 60 inches. It's just amazing the size of things you can turn on here. I do like to brag about this because it has one feature you won't find anywhere else. It's a gas shock assisted tilt-away tailstock. That gets it out of the way when you're over here working so you're not putting your elbow into the points and all that. I do need to move it back up so Brian can get around and not hurt himself. That would be bad. This is a really cool lathe that has a lot of nice features. I like the remote that is on a cable so I can put it anywhere I want. It has magnets on the back so it'll stick to just about any place you put it. And if you're looking down here, a little bit further over here, we have an emergency stop button. So if I get into trouble, I hit that with my foot, turns the lathe off. Then when you come up here, there's actually an outboard here so you can put 110 things in here. If you want to plug in your drill while you're doing some sanding or some drilling, that's really cool. I use it for extra lights and stuff like that. There is an emergency stop down here where it says American Beauty, right there. And over in this corner, it's a little tough to see, is a tool caddy in which I have a lot of things on there. I have things like my Jacob's chuck sitting here. I have 3 different tool rests. This is a quick release for the easy wood chuck I use. It's nice to have all that stuff right handy where you can grab it. And speaking of close, I like to keep my tools close. I designed this so everything is within reach while I'm working on the lathe. I don't want to go hunting for a tool when I need it. Now, I do have 2 tools that I use a lot, and 2 tool manufacturers. And Easy Wood Tools makes an incredible line of tools that have carbide tip cutters. You don't have to sharpen, and I love that. And a lot of people are tool snobs and say, no, you have to have something you have to sharpen, or other people say you can only use carbide. I think you should use what works for you. And there are a lot of things I'm finding out the carbide works for that is just repetitious stuff and it helps me get wood out of the way and I don't have to go sharpen, which is fantastic. Now, when I do want to do something where I need a little bit of more direction, like using a spindle gouge, things like that, I'm using Thompson lathe tools. And these are triple heat-treated, cryogenically treated steel. They're not just high-speed steel. These suckers are tough. So you can probably go 3 to 4 to 5 times longer between sharpening these than you would a regular tool. Plus, they also do some pretty cool laser engraving on the handles for you. And these handles also have weights in them, so they got beads in them. So hear that? So this is weighted while you're turning, so it helps you out. And the handles on the Easy Woods are pretty cool because they're special made by Craig Jackson. He designed this, and it's really nice. You get your hand here, you hold it well, then your hand is up here on the tool. Oh, also, there's a bubble level, which shows you how to keep the tool in the right position while you're turning. So if you're forgetful like me, that comes in really handy. Now, it might sound like I'm mentioning some specific products to sell them, and I'm not. I only use what works for me. Back when we did our show for PBS, legally, we could not mention the name of any manufacturer. And I always got inundated with emails saying, what tools do you use, what lathe is that, and that sort of thing. So now I can finally tell you what I use. And people have sent me materials and things that I've worked on and used I don't like, and I sent them back, and I didn't use them in the show. I only use the things that work for me. So believe me, if I've got this lathe in my shop, it's because I like it. Speaking about where I'm standing in my shop right now, if you look down at my feet, you'll see this big old cushion mat. And this is so important. If you're out here turning 5, 6, 10 hours a day, you want something to cushion your feet because it can be a long day. And this mat's about 1 inch thick, and it is wonderful. It has worked for me for years, and you can see that it keeps me a little bit taller too, which I like. Over here is the next area of my shop, and this is Workbench number 1. I use this one for drawing out a lot of plans and things. I have some fluorescent lighting underneath, which then brings down illumination, which makes it easier to do that. I keep things like my hammer here, and these aren't decorative. These are gauges and calipers that when I need them, they're right behind me. I can grab them quickly and go with it. Right here I have hanging on the wall one of my favorite little things I ever made. It's a faceplate. That's an Easy Wood Tools faceplate with an MDF board on there and then double stick adhesive. Well, you just spray it on there and then you can put sandpaper on there. I use this for a lot of my sanding since I don't have a dedicated sanding area. I don't have enough room for it. About the only interesting cabinet I have is this one right here. And this one holds my sandpaper. And I'm in the process of switching over from regular sandpaper to this Mirica mesh Abranet paper, which I really love because it doesn't clog up very easily. It lasts forever and you can see through it kind of, see? So all the dust goes right through this and it doesn't clog up your paper and it lasts a lot longer. Up here I have some dust masks, you can see that. I have some green pad here that helps me knock down my finishes a bit so that I can make them really smooth. And then over on this door over here, I have some more calipers and a pair of scissors, which I don't know how they've lasted this long because I've abused them terribly. Now I'll show you my dirty underwear drawer. This is a pantry used for a kitchen that I put in here, and trust me, I have everything in here, and I do love the fact that you can use these plastic bins to put lots of stuff in. When you're making pin blanks, you have dozens of different things you got to hang on to. Same with drilling and other kits, things like that. It's really easy to organize. Down here I have all of my finishes, and some of them are probably so old that I've got to get rid of them by now. And then even further down is where I keep more bins full of extra stuff, and then you can tell away on the bottom too, there's just junk wood in there. But you got to hang on to the wood. You're never going to know when you're going to need a little piece of ebony or something. And now for one of the most famous or infamous pieces of my shop is the hose reel. This has gotten caught in my grinder so many times. It has splice after splice after splice, so I finally got smart and moved the thing up over here out of the way. It's also closer to the lathe, so it's easier for me to use. And that's one thing to consider too when you're putting together your shop. You need dust collection. You also need a compressor because you use it to blow a lot of things off. And the way I did this is over here, that little lean-to, that extra part to my shop you saw outside, I have my dust collector in there, and I also have the air compressor in there, and everything runs through the wall. So the sound is over there and it's not loud. It's out of my way. Now this is my sharpening corner, and I have a Rikon bench grinder on here. I have a 60 grit wheel over here, and I have a 120 grit wheel over here. I need to dress that up. And it actually does come with its own dressing wheel, so I can get to that right away. I don't freehand sharpen. I actually use a Wolverine grinding system where you can put these little jigs in here and it puts your tools back up at the exact same place you had them before, because I want to save my tools as long as I can. I'm frugal. And also, I can replicate my grinds very easily by using this system. Hand sharpening to me is an art, but I don't think everybody can achieve it, so why not take the easy way out if the technology's there? The thing it's sitting on is actually, I repurposed an old TV stand so I could have a little storage and such. One thing I do keep under here, which is important to me, is a Beal buffing system. And these are wheels that you can mount to your lathe and you can buff the wood and your finish to get it really shiny, and then apply a carnauba wax finish at the end to make it look really pretty. Important thing when you have a system like this set up, you want to make sure you have adequate lighting. So I have these little architectural lamps all over, and you can see how it illuminates the area, and I can see what I'm doing a lot better. And speaking of lighting, in the shop it's super important too. If you look up here, it's a mishmash of fluorescence right now, but there's a purpose behind that because I need direct lighting where I'm working, and I need it behind me when I'm over there. You gotta just flood the whole area. Also, it helps with shooting. Now this is an interesting lamp that I just picked up from Craft Supplies. And it's got a magnetic base, but it's an LED. And I really like it. It directs the light exactly where you need it. It doesn't get hot. It's got a flexible gooseneck on it. And I'm using it on a lot of projects right now. It really helps when you're turning to be able to get enough light on the object to see what you're doing. The other cool thing is I can bring it in from the side now, and I can see the shadows where I'm doing my sanding. So see where my finger shadows are? You wouldn't see that with it off because the fluorescent lighting is so even. So you need a light source that you can bring in from an angle to help you when you finish your projects. Now this is the biggest difference you're going to see in our shop, and I'm not just talking about the Rikon bandsaw. This corner used to have my dust collector in here, so we could never show it on camera. It was just the junkiest, dirtiest area. But by moving it into the other building, now I open up a whole new area where we can work, and the shop feels much more open and it's easier to work in. But this bad boy right here is an 18-inch professional Rikon bandsaw, and what I love about it is it's got a big work area where you can put big pieces of wood on here, not worry about them tipping over. It even comes with its own LED light in here so you can illuminate the blade while you're cutting and see those pencil lines that are on Cocobolo or something like that are hard to see. But the other thing is let me unhook this real quick right here, is I can I can cut very large diameter logs now on here and run them through this blade. This is 19 inches of resaw capability is what they call it, but I'm not resawing boards. I'm putting entire logs through here so I can start making bowl blanks, and that is incredible. It has a 4 horsepower motor, which is a killer motor. It has a key start, so if you want to lock it up to keep the kids away from it, they can't get it going. The other thing I like, it's a really great safety feature is down here, is it has a foot brake, and you can stop this really quickly if you need to. In a shop this size, wood storage is at a premium, so I have shelves everywhere because I want to keep the nice wood safe and looking good. Up here I have a lot of cutoffs, boards, pieces like that I can use for a lot of projects. Right above here is another second level, kind of like an attic where I have even more wood up there. It's hard to get to, so I'm not going to show you because it's really dusty. Over here in this corner now, I have moved my drill press this way, so I have a lot of room to get to it. This is a good old-fashioned Delta drill press. It's floor standing model, so this table goes up and down any height I need it. It's just very handy to have for a lot of projects. You've got to take the wood off the lathe to drill some holes. Next to the lathe, you probably see this more than anything in the shop, and this is my workbench. A buddy of mine, when he shut down his shop, he gave me this, and it's really well constructed. It has a butcher block top, which you can do a lot of cutting on there, and you can even sand it down to refinish it if it gets ugly. And, whoops, I have things stored all over the place. Robust makes like 12 different tool rests, and they're all incredible. They're different shapes for different projects. Down here, I have all these little drawers where I keep just little tools that I need to grab. Down here, I have my sanding discs. This is the Abranet again, and it's a great way to keep everything organized. I have the mandrels here. And up top, if you notice, I have more wood on a shelf. And these little cutoffs look like they're not worth anything, but they've already been put into the the jaws of a chuck. So if I need something to mount something to, I just pop this in, clean the end up, and I can mount a piece of wood to it. You can never have too many of those. One other aspect, when I laid out the shop, my wife actually helped me build this, by the way. We put in the electrical using external installation. It's not in the walls. So if I drill into the walls, I know where my electrical runs are. Also, they're at about 38 inches or so, so they're above the height of all my tools that are in the shop, so it's easy to get to a plug and unplug. And the thing running below it is my dust collection system right here, because this runs all the way over to my bandsaw, which is my biggest dust maker. And so anyway, that is the tour of my shop. I hope you enjoyed it, and you can get a lot done in a small shop. You don't have to have the biggest one on earth. However, if you know somebody's selling a cheap 20 by 30 one, give me a yell.
Woodturning with Tim Yoder is sponsored by
Easy Wood Tools, the wood-turning system. Visit easywoodtools.com.
Woodworkers Emporium, your source for robust and Vic-Bark lathes, Rikon tools, and Easy Wood Tools. The American Association of Woodturners, the world's authority on everything wood-turning.
Thompson Lathe Tools. Welcome to a new level of professional wood-turning tools.
Titebond has the widest choice of glues to help with whatever project you want to tackle.
Rikon Power Tools. Tools designed by woodworkers.
And
Cook Woods. Your home for the finest exotic and domestic hardwoods since 1999.